Hello, Honors Geometry, and welcome to your fourth video of the school year, our fourth video of this unit on factoring and solving quadratics. Today we are going to get past factoring out of GCF, factoring with difference of squares, to talk about factoring trinomials. So first off, trinomial should stand out as a vocabulary you heard before the video. Remember, trinomial is a polynomial that has three terms. So if we go throughout this whole lesson, which we're going to be dealing with trinomials for a couple lessons, all of these are going to have three terms. So first off, we talk about a trinomial form. Okay, there is a standard form for every trinomial that you're going to see when we factor. And that standard form is going to look like ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, why we talk about it here now is the a, the b, and the c value come into play when we start to factor. Okay, and you see it right here in the steps for factoring a trinomial. First off, we're dealing when a equals 1. So if I go up here, we're dealing with where there's no number or a 1 in front of our x squareds. So what this says is, if we walk through the steps, the first thing we're going to do is check for a GCF and factor out if there is one. So if I know that there's a GCF, whether it's a number, whether it is a variable, or whether it is both, we're going to factor it out. Okay, then we're going to list the factors of C. C is that last number. We're going to list the factors. Factors are numbers that multiply to give you that number, which we talked about factors during GCF's times. Okay, and we want to select or choose the pair that get me to this B value. Get you to this value that is in front of the X. Now, off to the side, I want to talk about two things. Okay, we're going to talk about what happens when our C value is negative and what happens when our C value is positive. When your C value is negative, what that means is your factors, you have one negative and one positive. And if you think about it, the only way to get a negative number when you are multiplying is when you have one negative and one positive. Okay, and now when our C is positive, okay, our factors that we're going to list out, there's two options. Okay, the factors that we list out for C, either they're both positive or they are both negative. And if you think about it, the only way to get a positive when you are multiplying is to have both be positive or both be negative. That's where this is coming from. So now, once we get past there, we are going to create two binomials. And now, these binomials are going to be pretty simple in terms of what the form looks like. Okay, the forms, if I go down here to the bottom, are going to be two binomials, two parentheses. They're always going to normally start with x and x. Okay, and that's because all of our problems deal with x squared. Okay, your problems for these would always start with what is that variable that's in your problem squared. And like I said, we're only dealing with x here. Okay, and then you're going to put your factors at the other spot. Okay, so one factor will go in one parentheses, one will go the other. And based on these signs here of negative and positives, that will tell you whether it's a plus or a minus. And then this last step is to FOIL out the binomial to verify it gives you the original trinomial. Not always do we have to check, but I'm going to show you how to check a couple of them just so then you know you're not getting into the problems and they're wrong. Okay, so now let's look here at our first examples. So these first examples are going to introduce us to that second bullet point under the steps, which is to list out the factors of C and select which pair add up to B. So we're given a B and a C value. I want to list my factors of C and select which ones will add or sum to the B value. So starting here with A, my C value is 12. This is telling me I need to list the factors of 12. Now notice, my C is positive. If I go back up here to my chart, since C is positive, either both are positive or both are negative. So when I list out the factors of 12, I have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Those are listing out the factors where they are both positive. Now, I could also list out -1, -12, -2, -6, -3, -4. That has listed both positive and both negative since my C value is positive. Now, I'm basically thinking in my head, or remember, you can use your calculator. You're going in here and adding your pairs. My first pair was 1 plus 12. That's 13. I'm looking for which one sum to 7, since that's my B value. 2 plus 6, 8, not 7. 3 plus 4, that's 7. That answer right there would be your factors. Okay, if I check the other ones, -1 plus -12, -2 plus -6, -3 plus -4. Notice, only one of them gave me out that positive 7 for the B value. Okay, now let's go down here to B. My factors of for B is I have B equals 9, C equals 20. Always start with your C value. List your factors for that C value. Since C is positive, I'm going to list factors where they're both positive and they're both negative. I have 1 and 20. I have 2 and 10. 3 doesn't work. I have 4 and 5. Now, those are where it's both positive. Remember, I have to list where they're both negative. -1, -20. -2, -10. -4, -5. Once you list your factors, then you're going to add them together and see which one gives you your B value, which in this case, B equals 9. So 1 plus 20 is 21, not 9, so I have to go again. 2 plus 10 is 12. 4 plus 5 is 9. Those are the only factors that will add to 9. I don't need to continue. Only one set of factors will give me that sum or give me that B value. Okay, so now, looking here at C. My B value is 3 and my C is -18. Always start with that C value. C is -18. I'm going to go up here to the chart. When C is negative, I have factors where 1 is negative and 1 is positive. So this is how I always start when my C is negative. Start by listing out. I have 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6, 4 doesn't work, 5 doesn't work, and then I already have 6 there. Okay, now I'm going to start by saying that the first numbers were negative, my second were positive. Now I need to write those same factors again, but in this case, the second numbers were negative and the first were positive. Okay, that is what it looks like to have one of each. One negative, one positive. Now we're going to do the same thing we did in A and B. Negative 1 plus a positive 18 is 17. I'm looking for which one gives me out a 3. Negative 2 plus a 9 is 7. Negative 3 plus a 6 is a positive 3. This is the only one that will work. These factors, I'm going to tell you, the more you deal with them, a lot of times you won't always have to write these out. Okay, but they take practice at first to remember the rule up here and know the numbers. Okay, let's look at D and E. So again, you're starting with listing the factors of that C value. So I'm looking at 64, specifically a negative 64. Since C is negative, I have 1 negative, 1 positive. Factors of 64, 1 and 64. 2 and 32. Okay, 3 does not work. 4 does work. It's going to be 4 and 16. 5 does not work. 6 does not work. 7 does not work. And 8 does. It's 8 and 8. Since I know it's negative and I have to have 1 negative and 1 positive, I always start by listing the first numbers as negative. Now I'm going to rewrite those same factors that we found. 1 and 64, 2 and 32, 4 and 16, 8 and 8. Change it where the second factor is negative. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to add together till one of these sums give me negative 12. So if I go here to my calculator, negative 1 plus a 64 is 63. Nope. Negative 2 plus a 32. Nope. Negative 4 plus 16. Nope. Negative 8 plus 8. Nope. 1 plus a negative 64. Nope. 2 plus a negative 32 would be 2 minus 32. There we go. Nope. 4 minus 16. Ooh. 4 minus 16 gave me that negative 12. So a 4 and a negative 16 were the factors. Okay, and then here on the last one. Okay, starting with C. My C value is negative 72. That means I have to have 1 positive and 1 negative. So 1 and 72. Okay, then I look at 2. 2 and 36. Now, just a reminder, if you're forgetting how to find these factors, I could go into the calculator. 72 divided by 3. Always check the next number up. 3 and 24. 72 divided by 4. 4 and 18. 72 divided by 5. Since it gave me out a decimal, it doesn't work. 72 divided by 6. I have 6 and 12. 72 divided by 7. 72 divided by 8. I have 8 and 9. 72 divided by 9 would give me my first repeat. 8 and 9 again. So now, once you've listed out all your factors, I always start with saying that the first one is negative. Keep the second one your positive. Rewrite these factors. And now, when you rewrite your factors, I now make it that my second numbers are my negative numbers. Okay, and now go simply to the calculator. Add them together and figure out which one's going to give me a negative 14. Negative 1 plus 72. Nope. Negative 2 plus 36. Nope. Negative 3 plus 24. Nope. Negative 4 plus 18. Nope. Negative 6 plus 12. Nope. Negative 8 plus 9. Nope. 1 plus a negative 72. Nope. 2 plus a negative 36. Nope. 2 plus a negative 24, or sorry, 3 plus a negative 24. Nope. 4 plus a negative 18. Ooh, there is my negative 14. My factors would be 4 and negative 18. Okay, if you can do this first step in 1, everything down here in 2 is just writing it in its proper form. Okay, step 1, this example 1 is basically the whole process. Okay, you can do that. You have everything down here for doing step 2. So here in example 2, we're going to factor the following trinomials. Don't forget to FOIL at the end to check your answer. Now, here at the beginnings, if you have a no number in front of your x squared, we're going to have no GCF. We'll get here to the GCF ones at the end, so we will. So, first thing we're going to do, identify your A, your B, and your C value. A is what's in front of x squared, which should always be 1 on these problems. B is what's in front of your x value, which in this case is a positive 5. And then your C is the number in the end, which is a negative 6 because of the minus 6. You always carry the sign in front of the number. So now, I have my B and my C value. I'm going to go back up here to the top and do exactly what I did. I'm going to start by looking and saying C equals a negative 6. I'm going to list my factors of that C. Since C is negative, I have 1 negative and 1 positive. Factors of 6. 1 and 6, 2 and 3. My first set are going to have my first numbers being negative. My second set, when I write them again, is going to have the second numbers being negative. So now, I'm going to then go to my calculator. Negative 1 plus 6 is 5. I'm looking for which pair, when I add together, give me my B value, which is 5. Right there, negative 1 and 6. The only new step that these problems are getting to when you have to factor them is you have 2 parentheses. They are always going to start with x and x. Okay, they always start with what variable you see in the problem. If you had b squareds, it would be b and b. If you had c squareds, it would be c and c. Now, the only thing left that you have to do is these numbers at the end are your factors. Okay, I look and I say, well, I have a negative 1, which is just a minus 1. I have a positive 6, which is a plus 6. That is your final answer. That is all factoring then is on these problems. Now, it does say to FOIL to check to see if it works. So, I'm going to go here on a side piece of paper, and I'm going to check. We had x minus 1, and we had x plus 6. Okay, if I FOIL this to check, start by taking your first 2 terms and multiplying. X times x is x squared. I take my outside ones, x, and a positive 6, which would be a positive 6x. I have a negative 1 and an x. Those are my innards, my I out of FOIL. Negative 1 times x is a negative 1x, or I just write it as negative x. And then negative 1 times a positive 6, which is the last terms, is a negative 6. Okay, the one thing that gets forgotten a lot of times with FOIL is to combine like terms. I can combine my 6x and my negative x because they are common terms, like terms. Okay, a positive 6 and a negative 1 is a positive 5. Attach the x, minus 6. Notice when I FOIL, I get back to this trinomial that I started with. That is clarification that you factored it correctly. If when you FOIL the answer, you get back to what you started with, you are done with the problem. Okay, I have checked it. We're good to go on. Okay, let's look at some more of these. Okay, looking here at the second one. Again, identify your A, your B, and your C value. In this case, A is what's in front of x squared, which is 1. B is what's in front of x, which is 2. C is what's at the end, which is 1. Okay, if we go back to the front, remember, if they're both if C is positive, the factors of that C are either going to be both positive or both negative. So when I list out factors of C equals 1, I have 1 and 1. Those are the only factors of 1. Okay, they're either both positive or they are both negative. So -1 and -1. How I check whichever factors sum to give me this B value, that's the correct one. So 1 plus 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So that means both of them are positive. How to create the parentheses? Create your 2 parentheses. Okay, since I see x's in my problem, my parentheses start with x and x. Last thing I do is list the factors. Okay, both of these were a positive 1, so it means I have +1, +1. Okay, and again, I could go through, remember, and we can check it. Okay, the checking tool is a tool just for you to use if you want to guarantee you got the problem correct. Okay, if I go back here, okay, I wrote down. Okay, I went back here to this page and we checked the first one. Okay, I'm going to FOIL. X times x is x squared. X times 1 is a positive 1x or just a positive x. 1 times x again is a positive 1x, or we just write it as a positive x. And then 1 times 1 is a positive 1. I can combine these center terms. When I have x plus x, it's really looking and saying I have 1x plus 1x. Add your coefficients or your numbers in your front. X squared plus 1 plus 1 is 2x plus 1. Notice I got that same answer of x squared plus 2x plus 1. I'm good with the check. I factored it correctly. Okay, you don't always have to do it. The check, I'm just saying, is there to help you if you want to verify. So from here on out, we're not going to check any since I showed you. We're just going to go through and do the problems. So looking here at C, we have our trinomial. Start by listing A, B, and C. A is what's in front of x squared, which in this case is 1. B is what's in front of x, which is 10. C is what is at the end, your constant, which in this case is 24. Once you have A, B, and C, C was a positive 24, so that means my factors of that are going to be both positive or both negative. So I'm going to look here at 24. I'm going to start to list out what are the factors of 24. I have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and then 4 and 6. So now, since they are both positive or both negative, there's my both positive. Now I'm going to list out those factors again with both of them being negative. Okay, once I have that, now I'm going to add those factors together and see which set of two numbers or which set of factors give me that sum of my B, and I'm looking for a sum of 10. 1 plus 24, not 10. 2 plus 12, not 10. 3 plus 8, not 10. 4 plus 6, 4 and a 6 give me a 10. That means there are my factors. To get your final answer so it's in factored form, I have 2 parentheses. Since this problem talked about x's, it starts with x and x. Okay, and then you list out the factors. Since they were both positive, it's a +4 and a +6. Your sign and your parentheses tell you whether your factors were positive or negative. Okay, now going here to D. Okay, A is what's in front of x squared, which if there's nothing, it's a 1. B is what's in front of your x, which in this case is 3. C is what is at the end, or your constant, which is a -10. Now, since C is negative, because that's what we're going to have to list the factors of, my factors, remember if I go back here to the front, if C is negative, I have 1 negative and 1 positive. So, factors of 10, I have 1 and 10, 2 and 5. Those are the only factors of 10. Okay, my first set of factors, I'm going to make the first numbers be negative. On my second set of factors, I'm going to make the second numbers be negative. Now I'm going to add these factors together and see which one gives me those B values. So -1 plus 10 is 9. It's not 3 since that's my B value. -2 plus 5, -2 plus 5 gives me 3. So those are my factors. I can go over here now to create my parentheses. So I look and I say, since I talked about x's, it starts with x and x. Now I list my factors. Since 2 was a -2, it's a -2. And since 5 was positive, it's a +5. Okay, so now let's go here to the next one. I could check all these and they will work. Okay, but like I said, you don't always have to check. I'm just showing you the checking method, so it reminds you of FOIL again. Plus, if you want to make sure you're 100% correct, there is a way to check it. So now, on the next one, A is 1, B is -5, C is -84. Okay, my C value is negative, just like the last problem. That means one factor is positive, one is negative. Okay, this one is a bigger number. Okay, let's start listing out factors of 84. 84 and 1 are a factor. Okay, if you have to off to the side, you can always check. Okay, so if I walk you through 84 divided by 2, it didn't give me out a decimal, so that's a factor. 2 and 42. 84 divided by 3, I have 3 and 28. 84 divided by 4, I have 4 and 21. 84 divided by 5, nope, because it gives me out a decimal. 84 divided by 6, I have 6 and 14. 84 divided by 7, I have 7 and 12. 84 divided by 8, nope. 84 divided by 9, nope. 84 divided by 10, nope. 84 divided by 11, nope. 84 divided by 12, 7 and 12, and 12 and 7, those would be the same, so I don't need to write them down. Now, since C was negative again, I'm going to put all of my first numbers to be negative the first time I write them. Then when I write them again the second time, the second numbers are negative. Okay, now that I have them wrote down, I'm checking for, out of this set, which one are going to get me to this B value of -5. If you see it right away, you don't need to add like I'm doing with the terms. Okay, -1 plus 84 is not a -5. -2 plus 42 is not a -5. -3 plus 28 is not a -5. -4 plus 21 is not a -5. Negative 6 plus 14 is not a negative 5. Negative 7 plus 12 is not a negative 5. Okay, 1 plus a negative 84, not a negative 5. 2 plus a negative 42, not a negative 5. 3 plus a negative 28, not a negative 5. 4 plus a negative 21, nope. 6 plus a negative 14, nope. 7 plus a negative 12, yes. 7 and negative 12 work. So once you have your factors that work, 2 parentheses. Factors, or parentheses start with your x and your x. Now list your factors. 7 was positive, so it's a plus 7. 12 was negative, so it's a minus 12. It does not matter the order that you put these factors in. Okay, I could have x minus 12 and x plus 7. The order does not matter. Okay, and now we could go through here to the next one. I'm going to just give you this one since it's the same as all the other ones, and we're going to get down here to some GCF ones. Okay, the answer for F would have been x minus 28 and x plus 2. Try it out. If you don't get it, let me know in the questions, and I will go through that one in class. I want to look here at these last 4 because they have a added step. So what we know, the first rule in factoring always is to factor out a GCF. No matter whether we're looking at trinomials or difference of squares from last class, the first thing is always check for GCF. These first problems that we looked at, I did not add a GCF to them. These last 4 problems have a GCF. So, looking here at this for G. Okay, going back to talking about GCFs. You're looking for, do they all have a number that they can divide out? And do they have any variable? Well, for right now, I'm going to tell you the number GCF is going to be simple. Okay, the easiest way to check for a number GCF is to check to look and see if the number in front of your highest exponent with your variable, which in this case is x squared, check to see if it can be divided out of everything. 4 can be divided out of itself, 12 and 8. 4 is my GCF. Now, I don't have any variable because not all of these have an x. Why I'm telling you to check it on these ones is because we have to get it where there's nothing in front of my x squared. We've not talked about yet how to factor when there's something in front of x squared. So, I'm going to go here and I'm going to look and say, I'm going to take a GCF of a 4 out. GCF goes in front, and now you're basically taking each of these terms, dividing by that 4 and simplifying. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I'm left with just x squared because I don't write a 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Attach the x. Plus 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now, once you've taken out the GCF, it goes up to a problem like this. Inside your parentheses, you have a trinomial that starts like x squared. We're going to factor it like every problem above. So, I have a equals 1. I'm ignoring this 4 for right now. A equals 1. B equals 3. C equals 2. I'm going to list factors of 2. And now, since my C is positive, they're both positive or both negative. Factors of 2 are 1 and 2. They're either both positive or both negative. I listed both types out. So now I want it to equal a positive 3. Well, 1 plus 2 is a positive 3. to get to my factors at the end. This problem had x's, so it starts with x and x. The last thing you do is you list your factors. Since 1 is positive, it's a plus 1. Since 2 is positive, it is a plus 2. Okay, now, the last thing is, if you had a GCF, it always has to go out in front even at the end. So right there when I have x plus 1, x plus 2, I just make sure my GCF is out in front of that first parentheses. And it's always going to be like that. Okay, let's go here to the next one. So on the next one, like I said, for these problems right now, check to see if the number in front of your x squared can be divided out. So in front of my x squared is 3. Well, 3 divided by 3 works. It can be factored out. 15 divided by 3, that can be work. And 12 divided by 3. So my GCF is 3. So I put my GCF, and now I'm going to divide each term by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1, or I have my x squared. Negative 15 divided by 3 is a negative 5, attached to the variable. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. Once you've taken out your GCF, you can factor what is inside of the parentheses. A equals 1, B equals negative 5, C equals 4. I'm going to list factors of 4. Since my C is positive, either both are negative or both are positive. So factors of 4, 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Those are both positive. Now I'm going to list out both negative ones. So now I'm looking for which one add together to give me my BE value. Okay, if you have to, go to the calculator. 1 plus 4 is 5. I'm looking for a negative 5. 2 plus 2 is 4. Negative 1 plus negative 4. Ooh, there's my negative 5. Means these are my factors. List my parentheses. I have x and x since there's x's in my problem. Minus 1 or a negative 1 means minus 1 in terms of these parentheses, and a factor of negative 4 means minus 4. Last step, always make sure your GCF goes out in the front. Okay, looking here at the next problem. So, first off, always check your lowest number, the number in front of your highest variable with the exponent. Well, that's x cubed, so I'm going to check the number in front, which is 2. 2 does divide out of all those numbers. Now we run into a problem. These last two problems also have a variable that is part of the GCF. Every one of these terms have an x, so remember that tells you you can take out an x. And then, how to know what to take out is you always take out the x or the variable that has the lowest exponent. So on these x's, the lowest exponent I see is right there at the end. There was nothing there, but I showed you. If there's no exponent, it really means that you have an exponent of 1. So I need to take out 1x. So my GCF ends up being the 2 from the number and the x because of the variable. So I have my GCF out in front. I'm going to divide every term by 2x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Okay, I have 3 x's. I took away 1, so I have 2 x's, so that's x squared. 10 divided by 2 is a positive 5. I had 2 x's. I took away 1, so I'm left with 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. I had no x's. I had 1 x. I took away an x, so I have none. Notice we get left with what we've seen in the parentheses all above. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. A equals 1, B equals 5, C equals 6. List out your factors of your C, which in this case is 6. Since my C is positive, either both factors are positive or both are negative. Factors of 6 are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. So it could be that, or it could be -1, -6, -2, -3. Okay, I'm looking for which ones add together to give me my B value. 1 plus 6 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. Here is my 5. Create your 2 parentheses. There's x's in my problem, so both parentheses start with x. Factors of a +2 would be +2, and a +3 would be +3. Then always make sure your GCF goes in front. There would be your final answer. Okay, and final one here. I'm going to go here on another sheet of paper just so we have enough room for it, okay? So I'm going to rewrite it. I have 5x cubed minus 15x squared minus 140x. So first off, all of these we know has to start with just an x squared. So I know I can take out a GCF of a 5 in terms of numbers. And now, all of them have an x, a variable of an x. And the lowest exponent I see on an x is by itself or a 1. So that means I can take out 1x. So now, take out a 5x. Divide every one of your first terms by 5x. 5 divided by 5 is 1, which I don't write. I have 3 x's. I took away 1, so it's x squared. -15 divided by a 5 is a -3. I had 2 x's. I took away 1, so I'm left with 1. -140 divided by 5 is a -28. I had 1x, I took away 1x, so I don't have any. So now I'm going to list the factors A, B, and C. A is 1, B is a -3, C is a -28. I'm listing the factors of that C or -28. Since C is negative, remember, if I go to that front of your page, when C is negative, I have 1 negative and 1 positive. Okay, factors of 28, 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 3 doesn't work, 4 and 7. Okay, my first set, I'm going to have my first numbers be negative. On my second one, I'm going to have the second set. Okay, I'm looking for which ones give me a -3. If you see it right away, like I know 4 and -7 are going to give me a -3. You don't have to check all of them. So now I have my parentheses. I have x and x. List out your factors. Your 4 was a +4, so it's a +4. Your 7 was a -7, so it's -7. Last thing, make sure your GCF goes in front. And there's your final answer. Okay, factoring trinomials, we're probably getting into something brand new. Okay, we are going to take our time. We're going to work with it a lot also in class. Okay, the big thing with factoring is you're going to see it throughout the rest of the geometry as well, because it's a skill. The more you practice it, the more you understand it. If you have any questions, remember, ask it at the end of this presentation. I will answer all questions in class. We will continue to work on this in class, so we will. Okay, have a great rest of your day, Honors Geometry, and I will see you in class next time.